MKUltra, the CIA's mind control program 1953. It began as a secret buried deep within the quarters of the CIA, a program born out of fear and fueled by the race for control during the Cold War. They called it MKUltra, a project designed to uncover the limits of the human mind and what happens when you try to break it. From 1953 until the early 1970s, the CIA secretly funded experiments inside hospitals, universities, and prisons across the country. Behind locked doors, test subjects were given hallucinogenic drugs, forced hypnosis, and electric shocks, all in the name of national security. Most of them never agreed to any of it. Civilians, soldiers, and prisoners used like lab rats without their consent. Many never recovered. Some lost their memories forever. Others lost their minds. In the 1970s, fragments of the truth began to surface. Journalists uncovered what the CIA had tried to bury. When the story broke, the world was stunned. A government experimenting on its own citizens. By then, most official records were already destroyed. Only a few documents survived, enough to prove it was real. The exposure changed everything. It forced new laws, new oversight, and raised a question that still haunts us today. How far would those in power go to control the human mind? It happened once, and if it happened once, could it happen again? The Philadelphia experiment, the ship that vanished into thin air. They say during the chaos of World War II, something happened in Philadelphia that defied every law of physics. According to the legend, in October 1943, the U.S. Navy conducted a top-secret experiment on the destroyer escort, the USS Eldridge. The goal, to make the ship invisible to enemy radar, a military dream born from fear and innovation. But witnesses claimed something went horribly wrong. They said the Eldridge didn't just vanish from radar, it vanished from reality itself. Some insisted the ship reappeared hundreds of miles away in Norfolk before returning to Philadelphia only minutes later. The tale grew darker, stories of sailors burned, driven insane, even fused into the ship's structure itself. Years later, a merchant marine named Carl Allen claimed he saw it happen, writing letters that would fuel a decades-long mystery. Allen even linked it to Einstein's unified field theory, suggesting the Navy had briefly unlocked the secret to bending space and time. The US Navy denied everything, calling it a myth born from confusion and coincidence. Historians argue the story twisted real naval research, magnetic field cloaking, and radar jamming into something far stranger. Yet despite all evidence against it, the legend endures, fueled by Cold War paranoia and our fascination with what lies beyond human understanding. Whether it's truth or illusion, the Philadelphia experiment remains one of history's most haunting mysteries. The Dyatlov Pass Mystery -9 hikers who died in 1959. In February 1959, 9 young and experienced hikers set out to conquer the frozen Ural Mountains in Soviet Russia. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, confident, determined, and respected. The group packed carefully, they were skilled, strong, and ready for adventure. Before leaving, they laughed, took photos, and wrote in their journals. Snow began to fall, and their journey into the mountains had just begun. Days passed when the group failed to return. Search teams were sent into the icy wilderness. After weeks of storm and snow, rescuers found their campsite. The tent was torn open from the inside. Everything inside looked untouched, but the hikers were gone. Footprints led away from the tent, barefoot, half naked in temperatures below -30 degrees. Not far away, 2 bodies were found near a burnt-out campfire, wearing only underwear. Over the next few days, more bodies were discovered, scattered across the slope. One had a crushed skull, another had broken ribs, but no sign of external wounds. A woman was missing her tongue and her eyes. The scene made no sense. There were no tracks of animals, no evidence of a fight, no signs of an avalanche. Something or someone had terrified them that night. During the investigation, scientists found traces of radiation on the hikers' clothes. Immediately, rumors spread. Was this a secret Soviet military test? Or something far stranger? like UFOs or a supernatural force? Some suggested the hikers were victims of infrasound, low-frequency sound waves that cause panic. The official report gave only one haunting line: the cause of death, an unknown compelling natural force. Decades later, new studies tried to solve the mystery. Modern scientists believe a rare type of snow slab avalanche could explain some injuries. But one question remains: why did they cut open their tent from inside and run half naked into the freezing night? Today, the site stands as a symbol of human curiosity, courage, and tragedy. Whatever happened on that mountain remains buried beneath the snow. HAARP Weather Control Weapon 1993. In 1993, deep in the frozen wilderness of Alaska, the United States began constructing a strange facility in the middle of nowhere. They called it HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Its official purpose: to study Earth's ionosphere. But soon, people began asking questions. Was it really just a research project? Or something far more powerful and dangerous? HAARP used a massive grid of antennas to fire high-frequency radio waves into the upper atmosphere. Those waves targeted the ionosphere, a layer stretching 60 to 600 kilometers above Earth. Officially, it helped study radio communication and space weather. But independent investigators wondered if it could affect the ionosphere. Could HAARP also control the weather itself? Soon after HAARP began operations, the world started seeing strange and sudden weather events. Storms appeared out of nowhere. Lightning struck the same areas for days, and earthquakes shook the ground without warning. Many believed HAARP was testing something on a global scale. The US government denied all allegations. They insisted HAARP was purely scientific. In 2014, the project was handed to the University of Alaska, a move meant to prove it was harmless. But skeptics refused to believe the story. Classified documents hinted at something much deeper. Could HAARP be more than just science? More than 30 years later, HAARP remains one of the world's most mysterious projects. Some say it's a scientific marvel. Others call it a weather weapon. But the truth: we may never know, because the greatest powers are often the ones we cannot see. HAARP science, or something far beyond it. The Montauk Project, America's Time Portal 1980s. In the early 1980s, deep beneath the Montauk Air Force Base in New York, the US government allegedly conducted a series of secret experiments. Officially, it was just radar research, but insiders claimed something far stranger was happening underground. They called it the Montauk Project, a program rumored to explore mind control and even time travel. Inside the hidden labs, strange devices buzzed with high-frequency energy. Soldiers and children were said to be test subjects, their minds pushed beyond reality. Witnesses described rooms filled with strange electromagnetic fields, where thoughts could be seen and controlled. One experiment, they say, opened something, a rift in space and time. According to those who later spoke out, something went terribly wrong. A creature, a massive, shadowy being, was pulled through the portal. The base went into chaos. Lights failed, sirens screamed. Then silence within days. The facility was sealed. Every record erased. The government denied everything. They said the Montauk Project never existed. But witnesses disappeared, and classified files vanished from the record. Some believe these experiments inspired the story of Stranger Things. Others think Montauk was just one of many hidden time gate projects. Whatever the truth is, something began beneath Montauk, and it never really ended. What if the Montauk Project was never just a story? The truth remains buried in time. Operation Paperclip, Nazi scientists for Nasser. In 1945, World War II ended, but a new kind of war was about to begin. The United States and the Soviet Union both raced to capture Germany's top scientists. These were not ordinary scientists. They were the minds behind Hitler's rockets and secret weapons. To gain their knowledge, America launched a secret program called Operation Paperclip. Its goal: to recruit Nazi scientists before the Soviets could. Over 1,600 German experts were secretly brought to America. Their records were cleaned, removing ties to war crimes and Nazi party membership. Among them was Werner von Braun, the rocket engineer behind the V-2 missile. Von Braun had worked for Hitler, but in America, he would become a hero. Under Operation Paperclip, he and his team built rockets for the US Army. When NASA was formed in 1958, many of these former Nazi scientists joined the agency. They designed the Saturn V, the rocket that sent Apollo to the moon. America celebrated a space triumph built on the knowledge of former enemies. But behind the success, moral questions remained. Could scientific progress justify working with war criminals? Some documents about Paperclip remained classified for decades. When they were finally released, the truth shocked the public. America had quietly protected men accused of using slave labor and human experiments. Yet without them, NASA's rapid rise might never have happened. It was a trade, morality for progress. Today, many of NASA's early achievements trace back to those Paperclip scientists. Some call it a victory of science over ideology. Others call it a moral compromise that shaped modern America. Operation Paperclip reminds us, the line between good and evil in history is rarely clear, and that sometimes the future is built on secrets we'd rather forget. Project Blue Book, when the US Air Force investigated UFOs. In 1947, a mysterious object crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. Rumors spread, was it a weather balloon or something not from Earth? The US Air Force decided to investigate. In 1952, they launched a program called Project Blue Book. Its mission was simple, to study every UFO report across America. Teams of scientists and Air Force officers were assigned to analyze the cases. They interviewed witnesses, collected evidence, and even chased objects on radar. Most sightings turned out to be explainable, weather, aircraft, or even stars. But around 5% defied all explanation. Reports described glowing discs, cigar-shaped craft, and lights that moved impossibly fast. One of the most famous cases was in 1952, over Washington, D.C. Radar picked up unknown objects, and fighter jets were sent to intercept. The lights vanished before contact could be made. The media exploded with headlines about flying saucers over the Capitol. Behind the scenes, officials worried about public panic. By the 1960s, Project Blue Book had collected over 12,000 UFO reports. Each case was categorized, identified, or unexplained. But critics said the Air Force was hiding the truth. In 1966, after public pressure, the government formed a new study, the Condon Committee. Their conclusion, UFOs were not a threat to national security, and research was unnecessary. In 1969, Project Blue Book was officially shut down. The final report declared no evidence of extraterrestrial vehicles. Yet, many of its files remain fascinating to researchers today. Even now, the US government continues to collect new UFO data under new names. Project Blue Book may be over, but the mystery of the skies continues. The Taos Hum, the sound from nowhere. The town of Taos, located in the New Mexico desert, is known for its peaceful scenery and clear skies. But since the early 1990s, something strange began to happen. Many residents reported hearing a low, steady sound, like a distant engine. They called it the hum, a constant droning vibration. The frightening part was, no one knew where it came from. Only about 2% of Taos residents could hear it, but to them, it was very real. Some described it as a deep rumble coming from the ground. Others said it sounded like a distant diesel engine running miles away. When they left the town, the sound disappeared. But as soon as they returned, it came back, even inside sealed rooms. In 1993, the US government sent a team of scientists to Taos to investigate. They measured sound waves, magnetic fields, and infrasound for weeks. The result, no specific source was ever found. Some believed it was electromagnetic interference from military radio towers. Others thought it came from underground, through mines and natural tunnels. There's also a theory that the hum is an auditory illusion created by the human brain. But if that's true, why can only a small group of people hear it? Decades have passed, yet the hum remains unsolved. Those who hear it say they feel it more than they actually hear it. Some people even moved away because they couldn't stand the constant noise. Similar reports have appeared in the UK, Canada, and New Zealand. Today, the Taos Hum is no longer just a local mystery. It's a global phenomenon. Some believe it's linked to secret government technology. Others think it's the breath of the Earth, a natural resonance of the planet. Whatever it is, the Taos Hum continues to echo, reminding us that not every sound has a visible source. The Tunguska Event, the explosion with nitrogen monoxide trace 1908. It was the morning of June 30th, 1908. In a remote forest of Siberia, Russia, the sky suddenly caught fire. Witnesses described a bright blue light streaking across the heavens, brighter than the sun itself. Then, within seconds, a massive explosion shook the earth. The blast flattened more than 80 million trees, spreading out in a circle nearly 2,000 square kilometers wide. And yet, there was no crater, no debris, no trace of what caused it. Local villagers thought it was the end of the world. They saw a pillar of fire rise into the sky. The shockwave broke windows hundreds of kilometers away and was felt all the way to England. Scientists could not reach the site for years. The region was too remote, frozen, and dangerous. When they finally arrived in 1927, they found trees all pointing outward from a single point, as if something had exploded above the ground. But still, no impact crater, no meteor fragments, no metal. Early theories suggested a meteor or comet exploded in the atmosphere, its energy equal to a 15-megaton nuclear bomb. Others claimed it was a volcanic eruption or gas explosion from the ground. Some even whispered that it was an alien spacecraft, destroyed midair. The energy release was so strong, it caused atmospheric waves detected around the world. Nights in Europe were lit up with glowing skies for days afterward. In recent decades, scientists used satellite scans and computer models to simulate what really happened that day. Most now agree a small asteroid or icy comet, about 50 meters wide, detonated in the atmosphere 5 to 10 kilometers above ground. The airburst released enormous energy, enough to flatten everything beneath, but leave no crater behind. Even so, some researchers say the evidence still doesn't fit perfectly. The true cause of the Tunguska explosion remains partly unsolved. More than a century later, the Tunguska event remains the largest explosion in modern history, yet still without a clear cause. It inspired countless books, films, and conspiracy theories. Some say it was nature reminding us of our fragility. Others believe it was a warning from beyond this world. Whatever it was, the forest of Tunguska still whispers, and the sky above it remembers. The Black Knight satellite, the ancient object above Earth. For more than half a century, people have claimed that something strange orbits our planet. They call it the Black Knight satellite, a supposed alien artifact silently watching Earth for thousands of years. The story began in the 1950s, during the early years of the space race. In 1954, newspapers reported that the US Air Force detected an unknown object orbiting Earth. This was before any human-made satellite had been launched. Soon, both the US and the Soviet Union began tracking strange signals coming from space. Amateur radio operators even claimed to receive coded transmissions. Some said the signals repeated every few minutes, as if sent intentionally. When NASA astronauts later photographed an unknown dark object in orbit, theories exploded. NASA dismissed it as space debris, a lost thermal blanket from a shuttle mission. But conspiracy theorists argued that explanation was too convenient. Some claimed the object had been in orbit for 13,000 years, older than human civilization. Others believed it was left by an ancient extraterrestrial race to observe humanity's evolution. Even Nikola Tesla was linked to the mystery. He once reported receiving signals from beyond Earth. Could Tesla have been the first human to intercept the Black Knight signal? Over time, hundreds of sightings and photos fueled the legend. Skeptics say it's nothing more than space junk, reflections, and misinterpretations. But believers point out its orbit is polar, unusual for man-made satellites at that time. A polar orbit would allow it to scan the entire planet, ideal for surveillance. Still, no government or space agency has ever publicly admitted tracking it. NASA continues to call it space debris, but provides little further evidence. Today, it remains one of space's most enduring mysteries, part fact, part myth. Whether it's alien, ancient, or just a piece of junk, the Black Knight satellite reminds us, we may not be alone after all. Thank you for watching until the end. Every mystery we uncover brings us one step closer to the truth. If you felt something strange tonight, leave a comment and tell me what you believe. If this is real, see you in the next mystery.